Good morning. I'm Libby from Quantum, the official sailmaker for the Helly Hansen Sailing World Regatta Series. We've partnered with Sailflow Weather to bring you daily forecasts and expert tips to start your day. We'll also have Jeff Thorpe and Doug Stewart on the water with you, taking photos in preparation for some Zoom debriefs next week, which is a great opportunity regardless of the brand on your sail. So I'll put the link here in the chat so you can sign up to be added to the Zoom call for your fleet. I'll be taking pictures from behind your boat, looking at rig tune setups and sail setups. It's really educational. I'll highly encourage. The QR code on your flyer and your skipper bag is also that same link. Take it away, Shea, for today's forecast.
Yep, thank you, Libby. Final day of the Helly Hansen Sailing World Regatta Series in Annapolis. It's Sunday the 7th. We've got Andrew Waters on with me today. We had Scott Nixon on yesterday, Jason Curry on Friday. So really good to have you on, Andrew. I know I worked with you in the Great Lakes before, so we'll cover some grounds on the course. First, a couple of housekeeping rules. If you do have any questions, comments, or feedback, please feel free to put those in the chat box, and we'll field those at the very end of the segment or during it, if applicable. Real quick plug for Sailflow. This has been the app to use for this race, with Tolly Point sensor being the main one, which is closest out to the race ring. It's really well placed at 20 feet above sea level or above ground level. So really good sensor there. If you haven't tried Sailflow before, it's a free download with a free 2-week trial version. You can see this sensor and many others in the area, along with the pro forecast. So going through, we'll talk the overview, tidal, currents, and breeze. I really wanted to kind of ping on Andrew real quick. And Andrew, yesterday we had really light winds, right? So the idea was waiting for that high pressure to get off the coast, and it was just very, very slow to do that. The center passed right over Annapolis, right about 11:30, 12 o'clock, which killed the winds. We knew that was going to happen at some point. And so the race was delayed by a couple of hours, which was a good call because it would have just died completely. But it really didn't backfill very well through the day. I was hoping to get 5 to 9 knots out of it from a southerly turn, but that didn't even happen until about 3:30. So the timing was not the best for the race. I know it was challenging out there. We had a lot of currents. Kind of give me an overview of your experience on the wire yesterday and how the forecast panned out.
Yes, I mean, obviously it was tough on the race committee to get any kind of racing going, but I think they did really well with what they had. Current has obviously been a fairly big factor all weekend, and yesterday it really played in. Personally, I was actually sailing on the ORC course, and we had so much current trying to get around one of the government markers. We actually had an anchor out. So really tough day, but in the various circles, I think they've done remarkably well to even just get a couple of races in yesterday. So tough, but they did well. The sea breeze sort of finally filled in at around about 3 or 3:30. It's probably just a little bit too late in the day for them to work with it awfully well.
Yeah, it was definitely challenging with 2 or 3 hour period of just lull. Call those doldrums. We get those sometimes down here in the Charleston area where it just flattens out and there's nothing for hours and hours, and it's not good for racing. But today I do bring better news for everybody. Real quick, the ebb, max ebb is going to be right about 115 today. The NOAA tides and currents has minus 1.37. However, we do know that the current is much stronger because of the Conowinga Dam release. So anywhere you see a lull in this graph is where they've stopped or they have actually opened the gates for release. And then right now they're up to about 100, it looks like about 140 to 150,000 cubic feet per second on the release. So that keeps the current pretty strong. If we look at see if I can pull this up. Here we go. So 10 o'clock a.m. is the currents forecast. So we have high resolution currents forecasting in our products here. We start out a little bit lighter. So it looks like today we may be a little lighter around the edges of the course. So I'd say on the sides is going to be your best bet. 11 o'clock, the current starts to fill in about 1 to 1.5 knots. We could probably add about 0.3 to this at the start, simply because we're getting close to max ebb. You notice down the middle of the shipping channel is the strongest. We start to see those purples filling in 1.7 plus. So we're getting up to 1.7 to 2 knots down the middle. So if you're on the sides of the channel where you can get away from some of that current, you're probably in a better position, unless you're definitely in a reach mode with that. The wind is going to be tough because it's going to be a crosswind. You're going to have an opposite wind to the current. So Andrew, that'll be some talking points here in a little bit. I wanted to go ahead and get over to the forecast for today. It looks like got a few clouds moving over the area. We have a visible satellite here. We can see some troughing moving. Let me get my draw tool out. This area of troughing is going to be moving across the area. You may see a light shower too associated with this, but we have a big area of instability that's moving towards the area. And this will be arriving sometime around 5:30 or so this afternoon. It looks like a pretty healthy storm line, rather robust area of convection that's going to possibly fall apart. If we look at the NAM, or not the NAM, but the HRRR model for this, it looks like a lot of those isolated showers that come over the area, I think maybe some of that will make it to the ground. You do have a rather dry air mass overhead at the moment with northwest flow, so you may get some of that. Don't be surprised, otherwise just clouds. And then we see this storm line moving in, coming in right around 9 o'clock is here, and then 9:30 to 9:45 UTC. So you take 4 hours off of that, and that means 5:30. So just something to be aware of if you're out there. I'd probably want to get off the water by about 5:30 at the latest, just to be on the safe side in case this line holds up. And you never know, you may get a prefrontal line of storms that comes out around 4. So be aware of this area of convection moving in. Looks like it'll hold off till later, and everybody will be off the water anyways. As far as air temperatures, looks like we're going to be in the low 70s for today. The water temperatures are right around 65 degrees. So it looks pretty good. And then if we look at the wind forecast, so right now we're seeing southerly winds around 6 knots. So better than yesterday already. We're going to continue to see this 5 to 9 knot range at the time of the race start. So one thing about that warm front and troughing activity to our west is that it'll keep the southerly flow going, where we have high pressure that's firmly off the Carolinas at this point. This is a good thing. It keeps the southerly flow coming up the Chesapeake Bay. And then as that storm activity comes towards the coast, we get a little bit of a surface jet ahead of that. So this high pressure with clockwise movement around it really just sends the winds up the bay. There's going to be some toggling, I believe. I think we're going to be seeing an oscillating wind today. There'll be periods of time when it's truly 180 degrees, but it may toggle back to 170 to 165 at times. I would say just be prepared for this wind to be oscillating at around plus or minus 10 degrees at any given time, simply because we don't know exactly how that air mass to the west with that instability is going to play out, but it may have some impacts at times where that low level jetting starts to try to fill down, and it only adds about 2 or 3, maybe 4 knots to the forecast. So that's why we have, go back to our wind map. At Tolly Point, if we run all of the models, I'll kind of go into some detail about what I'm talking about. So we have the Wolf Wharf, or the weather flow wharf, 2 kilometer, which shows the highest speeds. You can see the purple line showing the highest. It's the most optimistic of all the models because it is trying to read ahead of that storm line where you get that convective pattern and you get a little bit of that jetting associated with it. So this model is actually trying to get up to 10 to 14 knots. The HRRR, the NAM3, all the others have a slow, steady climb after 11 o'clock. We keep the 5 to 9 knots ranges. By noon, we're seeing 7 to 11. I can agree with that. And then as we get past that, around 1, 2 o'clock, this is where the speeds get a little bit tricky. I think we're going to jump. I think we'll see 9 to 13 knots easily to get to that point. And then anything above that, if we see 10 to 14 or even 11 to 15, that would be gifted by a couple of extra. That'll give you a little more bump on the course. So Andrew, let's bring you in here and let's talk about the wind speeds. You know, we're looking at peak values at 9 to 13 knots by noon, 1 o'clock. That'll be right in the peak of the race. So what are your thoughts there with the current and everything given?
Yeah, thanks for that, Shea. I mean, obviously that's a more positive outlook for us going forward. So thanks for sorting that out for us on a Sunday. But you know, obviously with the slightly more increased breeze is all good. Setups will on the boats and the rigs will be a little bit different. So keep an eye on that. You're probably going to be a little bit up on the rig and increasing as the day moves forward. But I also feel like the current still remains a really, really big overriding factor. Consider that the breeze now out of the south. Be really cautious going into a start. As part of your strategy, you're going to be getting pushed over the line, so you don't want to get caught out with that, because getting back is going to be suicidal almost. So watch out for that in terms of your strategies at the start. But obviously the current still is going to be a major factor. if a little bit less than it was yesterday. But good news that you've got breeze for us today, and if it is going to toggle just a little bit, just watch out for those minor shifts. And yeah, have a good day out in the water.
Great, thank you so much. I think that'll cover it for today. And also just, you know, I saw in Charleston Race Week where people caught the bow lines, especially with that current. It would be tricky, so watch out for those on the turns. I don't see any questions in the chat box for us, so we'll end the segment there. But good luck today. I think it's a much better day, much more optimistic out there on the course for winds to get out of that current. And everybody have a good time. Andrew, great to work with you again. Everybody at Annapolis, have a good time out there today. It's been an honor to be on the forecasting for this again. And I'll be in touch with Katie and the race committee at any point. If anything looks like it's going to surge a little higher or anything storms moving in, I'll be sure to let the race committee know. So, okay, everybody. Well, thanks a lot for watching, and take care. Like I said, have a good day. Godspeed out there, and we'll catch you at the next race. Thanks a lot.